Hello and welcome to the Wild Wild West podcast. My name is Richie Riche of the MHRT Network. Unfortunately, there's nobody else with me here on screen. I wanted to jump on because each and every one of us here on the show, despite living in different countries, in different states, all of us lost our power. I am on borrowed time on my battery here. And I'm going to just simply jump on because we committed to do a show, so I'm going to be as quick as I can before my battery does die here. I wanted to let you know that Nav was going to be on the show. He lost his power. DZ was on the show. He lost his. And I just lost my power due to a thunderstorm with the expectation of the power returning later this evening. We had a good show planned for you this evening. We're going to go over the top two weaknesses on each team coming into camp and those mandatory practices and camps and all those sorts of things. So with that in mind, I'm going to jump into just giving a little bit of information on the Broncos, a couple things that I think the Chargers need to answer coming into camp. And I'm going to cover some of the Raiders stuff, and then I'm going to jump off and bid you adieu. It'll be a little bit of a shorter show tonight, but we have had a 2-week hiatus, so I did want to jump on and give you something to tide you over until next week when all of us can jump back on the show. We've also found ourselves what we believe might be a permanent option there to give us the KC side of things as well. So stay tuned for that information. Sacktown, how you doing, my man? Thank you for joining. I appreciate it. We got Gabe Davis Raider Dog here as well, and then we got a name that I'm not familiar with here on the show. And then we got we got Ed. Ed, how you doing? I hope everything is well. I have not seen you in a little bit. So I'm going to start things off, I suppose, with the Raiders. And I believe that the top two things that the Raiders need to get answers to as a team, number one is going to be their offensive line cohesion. We're going to need to see that offensive line cohesion really come into its own and start to, kind of see that they can mesh together in that new system. Keep in mind, the Raiders are going to be running an all-new offensive system with Kubiak. So that's got that Kubiak kind of Bronco-styled offensive flair. We saw him run that same style of offense with that Super Bowl winning performance last season. So you want to see if that can carry over and who fits into that and who doesn't. We kind of spoke about that briefly on the show with myself and my colleagues here. And then the other one is going to be the defensive side of the ball. How is that going to carry over with the ebb and flow of Max Crosby in the offseason? Are we going to see that continuity there on the defensive side and even maybe elevation on the defensive side of the ball there for the Las Vegas Raiders? And then I kind of move into my Denver Broncos. I think that the Broncos are in an interesting spot. I think the Broncos have some question marks that we need to answer as well. Number one is going to be the offensive side of the ball. Can we finally see some elevation out of my Denver Broncos on the offensive side of the ball? The defense has been known to have carried the team over the last few years. And, can there be more balance? Because ultimately, I think that will make the Broncos a far more formidable team. You can't keep winning these, one score, one touch games. And the second one, actually, I think is going to surprise some people. And that is, you need to see how the Broncos run game does. J.K. Dobbins went down. And when J.K. Dobbins went down, our run game basically went away with him. So we need to see, can the Broncos run game into these upcoming mandatory practices, etc., can it sustain itself? And does our new addition of Jonah Coleman allow us to have that continuity in the run game overall? So those are the two things for my Denver Broncos. Last but not least, I'm not going to cover the Chiefs. I'm just going to simply touch base on – I'll cover one thing on the Chiefs. I'll do that quickly. I think the biggest thing for the Chiefs is going to be Patrick Mahomes. We saw last season that he was basically the stick that stirs the drink, so to speak. And so I think that without Patrick Mahomes, we are going to have some question marks. He's coming back from an injury. He's been on the field. He's been practicing a little bit, but can he ditch the support brace? Can he do the things that he needs to do to stay on the field? How is he going to how is he going to look? And is he going to be able to get back on the field, or are they going to need to rely on their backup? I think that's the biggest one for the Chiefs, and there's some kind of ones below it. But obviously a quarterback injury, especially one that had them slip quite significantly this season, I think is a big deal. And then the Chargers. So the Chargers had a bunch of offensive line injuries, and we need to see how those O-linemen are going to bounce back. Are similar to Patrick Mahomes. Are they going to be able to be at full strength? Are they going to be on a snap count of sorts? What are they going to look like overall? And then I also think we have some question marks there about offensive strategy. Are the Chargers going to be able to kind of sustain themselves throughout the season? Because the Chargers are, you hate to say it, they're known to getting injured. And so can they ebb and flow enough throughout the season on the offensive side of the ball in order to keep them in contention? Because last year, a lot of people forget, despite their injuries, their head coach had them in a position where they were really pushing even the Broncos for winning the division right up until the end there. So I think the Chargers are definitely a formidable opponent within the AFC West. Does anyone in the chat have anything that they have questions about for their respective teams or regional teams that they wanted to cover? And if not, I'll give that about 1 or 2 minutes, and then we'll wind down the show. I just wanted to jump on because I committed to coming on here, and as long as I can, I will. We got Ed jumping in here. If Nick stays healthy, we have a good chance at winning the division. I agree. I think that's a pretty fair assessment. I also think that, as I stated with the offensive scheme change, I think that that's a big question mark as well. You have Sean Payton, who's going to be working on the playbook and working on the game installation, but Webb is ultimately going to be calling the plays in game, and as well as probably dusting in a few of his own plays to kind of spice up the Broncos play calling and playbook. So it'll be just very, very interesting to see the ebb and flow between the two. And as you've seen in other scenarios, sometimes that can actually really elevate a team and make them just almost unstoppable on one side of the ball, where you have kind of two folks that are helping to kind of sharpen the sword, so to speak. I think Eric Bieniemy and Andy Reid would be a good example of that when the Chiefs were on kind of their run there, where Andy Reid was a big ideas guy, and then Eric Bieniemy was very much a details guy. And you saw those two positions really mesh well, and they did extraordinarily well for that block of time. And then once Eric Bieniemy left, the Chiefs really did drop quite a significant amount in terms of their consistency and how well they did, generally speaking. So that'll be, I think, an interesting piece for my Denver Broncos. But I agree with you overall, Ed. Can Bo Nix stay healthy? Is he going to be able to stay on the field? Is he going to be able to do all the things that he needs to do? So this is another interesting question here is, will Evan Ingram still be on the roster? So short answer is I have him predicted in my unbelievably way too early 53-man roster projection, which I did, I bet it's almost been 3 weeks ago now. I actually had him getting cut. We stand to save a little bit of cap space if we do so. And the team got Justin Joly, and then we also got Declan. And I believe that between those two, the team is going to want to foster and develop that young, those young tight ends in the room. And I believe we saw enough out of Evan Ingram last year. And by enough, I mean not enough. Where a seasoned veteran, I think it would be fair that one would expect him to have done better than he did. And he dropped some very critical passes. If you actually go back and look at the film, he dropped critical passes in critical moments on the team. for the team, especially when we were in those critical like 1-score potential games where we could have maybe gone up like 2 scores, for example, if he had caught certain passes at certain moments of the game. So Ed, just give me 1 second. I'm just going to quickly finish off the tight end piece here for the Bronco, and I'll get to your comment there just a sec. Well, I think it'll be Adkins because the team needs a stellar seasoned veteran at the blocker side of things. I think Troutman's contract makes it cost prohibitive to cut him this year. So as a result, I think he'll be on the roster. So that takes care of 2. And then I think the other 2 are going to be Julie and Declan. They'll be on the roster as well. Now, if the team does choose to keep 5 tight ends, and they could, you never know, that could be Caleb Lohner. Caleb Lohner was definitely looking quite good earlier in the camp and whatnot. So he very well could kind of surprise us and be that 5th man. Or potentially we might be able to try to see if we couldn't slide Declan on the practice squad. But I think that would be a tough one, actually. I think I think he would probably get snagged from us by another team. So we have Ed here with what team do you think is your biggest competition in our division, KC or LA? I actually think it's LA, if I'm going to be perfectly honest. I think Patrick Mahomes in the last 3 seasons, I think, is a fair statement to make, has declined most of those seasons overall. And I think that the team has had some bounce back options this year in the offseason through the draft and free agency. So I think that the team has certainly done better, and they've certainly bounced back and put talent around Patrick Mahomes to potentially have him do better. But coming off an injury and things like that, I think it's going to be a very, very difficult season for the Chiefs this year. I think next season, once Mahomes is that full year recovered, et cetera, I think that the Chiefs are going to be in much better position to that proper bounce back season. I do think LA, though, is the formidable, very formidable opponent for the Denver Broncos within our division. And I think it'll be similar to last season, if I had to guess, where you're going to kind of be jockeying for that first position within the division between the 2 teams. DZ, I think this is I think that's DZ, isn't it? Anyways, I think this is kind of that media bias. I think we've all noticed it or had it or seen it, where Mahomes had such a fiery success to enter the season, or to enter his career rather, where it's kind of like a Tom Brady effect or a Peyton Manning effect near the end of their careers and stuff. Although Peyton Manning was pretty strong pretty much right until his last season with the Broncos. But, even like Brett Favre and stuff like that, or even Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers had mediocre seasons to kind of finish his career with the Packers, although he had no real stellar wide receivers when he was there either near the end. And so I think a lot of these analysts for ESPN, DraftKings, etc., I think they're hanging their hat and think that somehow Mahomes is going to kind of have this fairy tale bounce back season of some kind. I still think he's good. I just don't think that he's going to have that this year. You can't tear your knee up that badly and bounce back that quickly. There's only one Adrian Peterson, and he was a freak. I think most athletes need that full year. And then when they come back after that full year of recovery, they are able to perform at least mostly at the level that they were at before that injury. So DraftKings, ESPN, I've seen those standings and all that kind of stuff. And I think we can collectively disagree with that and probably feel quite comfortable. Oh, look, we got We got Daniel here from Sports. That's fantastic. Thank you. Yes, and I agree with that as well. I also think that the rest of the division also got substantially better as well. I mean, the Raiders, I don't think it, I think we've spoken about this on the show multiple times. I think we've, my fellow colleagues, as it were, on the show have had discussions behind the scenes. I mean, the Raiders, for sure, seemingly competed and tackled this offseason with a cohesion that I can be honest, I don't think I've seen from their team in at least 5 years, probably since John Gruden. John Gruden was a bit of a wild card, but he did kind of have a certain type and he kind of drafted in a certain direction. And even if he missed on a guy, he had other guys that hit that kind of generally took their place, but he at least did things with a vision and a direction. And I think it's been since John Gruden, if I had to kind of put a timing on it, we're now starting to see the Raiders proceed and draft and approach this offseason with a very clear direction, which quite honestly makes them a very dangerous team because now they have a direction that ship is going to go in. And they maintained and retained a lot of their top talent, and now it's just a matter of seeing who fits and who doesn't. I don't doubt that. I have absolutely seen some of the questionable media coverage, etc., from the Raiders and on the Raiders. Some of it justified, some of it not. But yeah, I completely agree with kind of what you're saying there is that there's definitely some media bias in a positive direction towards some teams and a negative bias towards others for sure. Well, guys, I'm gonna end it there just because I did commit to coming on the show. The collective group here has just had some weather challenges. I was able to sneakily get this thing on the go here. I'm going to leave it there. I'd like to thank everyone for joining. We will be back in full force next week. All 3 or 4 of us will be here. And thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, where the west side's the best side. Peace.
Fast lane when I pass in the street, bag of money in the passenger seat. Tempo's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the coast's racking up the flame out. So high, I might never come down, so what, this is my lifestyle. Wait a minute, work hard for the cause.